What's going on, guys? Miami here with JST, and today I want to talk about 5 ways to save your mix before you want to give up. I did a video recently talking about doing content with some people that watch the channel, and that's coming up soon. But one thing that I noticed is they had a lot of the same problems in their productions, and I noticed that a lot of them were bedroom mixers. But I'm a bedroom mixer. I mean, you guys know I used to have a studio out in Burbank, but now this is what I do in my room. Like, hey, Meta, record. This is the same thing that I'm looking at every single day. I'm in a room, my bed's over there, I turn around, and then I'm here recording, talking to you guys. Just understand you're not limited by being in your bedroom. You're not limited by anything other than your ears. That is it. So by the end of this video, you'll understand ways to clean up your mix in a pretty fast way, just in case you need to get something off or if you've been struggling with doing that. For examples today, I'm going to be using a song called Bring Your Demons by Maddie Shreds and Say We Can Fly. If you remember the Warped Tour days, Say We Can Fly was on Warped Tour a couple times. Absolutely amazing artist, so had a lot of fun with this one. The first thing that I noticed that people struggle with inside their mixes: harshness. There are a few ways that you can deal with harshness inside of a mix. You typically will find it on things that are over-processed, things that are really in the mid-range. You'll find that on guitars, you'll find it on cymbals. Those things tend to be clashing a lot anyways. EQ is a very quick way to fix harshness, but there's some quick tips that you can use to kind of get rid of that as well. A lot of people like to reach for plugins like Bloom or Soothe, or they like to take an EQ. I'm gonna show an example of how I had to clean up some harshness from a track because when I got the vocals for Say We Can Fly, they were already processed and they were very, very harsh. So I had to do a lot of repair work. I'll show you a bit how I attack something like that and an alternative you could use if you had to do something really quick. So here's an example of something that was really harsh in this mix. Listen to this vocal. I know I'm a mess, but I swear that'll just make sure. Now that was really difficult. I did well, a lot of weird EQ stuff that ended up sounding good. No, I'm a mess, but I swear that'll just make sure I'm still breathing when then added a de-esser here. No, I'm a mess, but I swear that'll just make sure I'm still breathing when I want to work. Now, already this is done quite a bit. You want to remember you can use de-essers on other things. It's not just on vocals and stuff. It can do well on guitars and cymbals. But after that, no, I'm a mess, but I swear that'll just make sure I'm still breathing when I want to work. You're the one that's right for me. Lights out, head down, trying to bed. No, I'm a mess, but I swear that'll just make sure I'm still breathing when I want to work. You're the one that's right for me. Lights out, head down, trying to bed. A quick way to fix harshness with stuff, using de-essers and sometimes a crazy amount of EQ. And Soothe was doing a little bit of work there too. But yep, that would be a way to get rid of harshness if I needed to in a pinch. Now, that's one example of how to go through fixing something. The next thing that I notice is in people's mixes all the time. One of the other big problems I notice people have is dealing with their low end. Now, I already have a video that explains how you can deal with your low end by splitting your bass, the split bass technique, and then finding ways to make your kick work and react well with your bass. You can use side chaining, but also that just helps to set your bass in appropriate space. How do you enhance upon that? And we actually worked on something very interesting with Andrew Wade. He had a bass bus glue came out that found a way to solve this problem. And I'll show you an example of how I was able to enhance bass with that. And if you don't have that, like there's a certain thing you could use, like you could use like max bass or R bass or something like that. But I feel like this simplifies the process of it a bit. So we're gonna get into that, especially if you're trying to increase your sub response. And I'm definitely trying to do that. We're almost at 100,000 followers. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and like the video if you're enjoying the content. Transition game, still crazy. So this song's called Bring Your Demons by Say We Can Fly. I did the production on this track. Let's take a listen to it. I showed two different ways how to fix this, one with Andrew Wade Bus Glue Mix, and then one with Fab Filter Pro MB, whatever you use. I'll take a listen to it first up. Now let's put on Andrew Wade Bus Glue Mix. So both of those tighten up what's happening in a different way. I like the control that I get by using Andrew Wade Bus Glue Mix for the multiband, and I like this little feature here that also shows me what's going on with the low compression. But yeah, just figured I'd show you a quick way. That is a problem that I notice is in people's mix a lot. It's just low mid buildup. And that's a very quick way to just solve that problem. The next thing that I noticed that people have big problems with is the mid cleanup. And the easiest way that you can do this is with multiband compression. You want to set this at an area somewhere between 300 and 500 hertz to even down to 250 to like 5 or 600, and have it so that that area is constantly being compressed so that is leaving room for the mix to breathe, because things get really muddy in that area, especially bass. If you're using the split bass technique, you don't have to worry about that area too much, but you have other stuff that's going to muddy that area up too. And if you clean it up appropriately, it can actually be a very nice pocket to start increasing vocals or adding body to your vocals. So that is one thing you want to make sure that you look for when trying to save your mix last minute before you're like, all right, I'm done with this thing. All right, so for getting the low end right here, this is my bottom. And that's my top. You guys are used to that, hearing it together. But now let's tighten the whole thing up. Let's gonna use Andrew Wade's Bus Glue Bass. The first thing you're gonna notice is this bass enhancing down here. This is what I was talking about. I'm compressing the whole signal here, about 40%, but this is what's really doing the magic. So that's just a really quick way of showing you how you can enhance your low end so that it sounds right and it stands out. As you notice, I took that away. And even though technically everything's right and it's fitting in its right place, it wasn't spread and it wasn't expanding and we weren't feeling it the same way. So that's one quick way to do that. And you can get the trial of this right in the description below. The next thing that I would say is trying to get your balance right with faders. I noticed that a lot of people will take plugins and try to use that for adding volume or decreasing volume. Like, that's not the way to go. You want to make sure that you are working within your subgroups. For example, if you have drums and you are leveling everything out properly, and then you're going to process those things and keep them at a similar volume, and then use that so that that is what you are balancing against for your stuff. When you don't have your subgroups like that, and you start just trying to have plugins increasing volume and doing whatever, you kind of end up with really wonky stuff. And then you find yourself messing up the compressors. If you have compressors on your buses at the end, that will throw everything that you have going out of whack. So that would be the next thing that I saw as being a big problem for people that are mixing. And this one I can't really show an example of in this song because it wasn't an issue, but bringing vocals alive. Actually, I can show a little bit of it. Bringing vocals alive in your mix is one of the hardest things to do when you have like a flat, dull vocal. And I think I might have used one of the craziest EQ curves that I've ever used in my life on this song. You can check and take a look at it. It's one of those things though, it's like it looks crazy, but does it sound good? And it sounded really good in the song. So we just went with that. But typically I would never go this drastic with something. If I felt that I needed to do all of this, I would probably like re-record it or find some other way of doing it. Yep, EQ is your friend for doing that. A little bit of saturation is something that definitely adds that flavor to vocals to make it feel a little bit more exciting. I'm a big fan of tracking with my distressor with a little bit of distortion on a vocal too. And if you don't have that, Howard Benson Vocals has a grit knob that if you turn up gives that same kind of flair. And one other thing that does that is trying to think of another plugin that does that really, really well. Like JST Heat does that well. FabFilter Saturn does that well. Those are some options for you guys if you need to mess with your vocals and kind of bring a little bit of life back into it. I know I haven't done videos like this in a while where I'm kind of like 5 tips for this or whatever, but I'm back at it and we're going to be having some fun with it. I think the next video I'm going to do is going to be based on compression, and I'm going to be teaching people how to make your mix move with compression, because I think that's a really important thing. And we've talked about compressor types and we've talked about like what compressor to use in which situation, but then like finding a way to make it move the right way with attack and release, I think that's pretty important. So let's go over the things that we just talked about. We talked about harshness. We talked about low end. We talked about mud. We talked about bringing your vocal alive, and we talked about like balance and faders. Hopefully this is something that helped you out a little bit with the mix that you have, and in the future, this can be something that saves you a lot of trouble and headache. If you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. You only have to do it one time, and tap that bell for notification so when the video drops, you know the location. When the video drops, you know the donuts. I just messed up my sign off. I'll catch you guys later.